In today's video, we're taking a break. We're not talking about the 2025 rookie class. Instead, we're looking a year ahead at the potential 2026 rookie class. As always, if you like Dynasty content, make sure to hit the like button on this video and subscribe to the channel. Help us get to 1,300 subscribers. And again, we're looking ahead here. You know, as Dynasty players, we like to look ahead. I know we're 2 weeks away from the NFL draft happening, so all the talk is about this 2025 class. But at the same time, I know you degenerate Dynasty fans and players out there, like myself, are already thinking about 2026, 2027. Should you invest? Should we be excited? Well, we're going to try and scratch the surface a little bit of the 2026 class in today's video. I will preface this by saying a couple things is this is very surface level. Like, my research and my scouting into these guys is very, very limited. I'm not declaring anything about anyone. I'm not planting my flag on anyone at all. And a lot of these guys, and several of these guys, might not even be in the 2026 class. And a lot's going to change. And there's guys we're not even going to talk about that are going to be big time, pieces, big time players in the 2026 class. But we'll start off with the quarterback position here. And Arch Manning is the name that everyone's talking about, that everyone's excited about. Tank for Manning, tank for Arch, whatever the alliteration that you make, the tank for Tua type of stuff, right? Like, it's Arch Manning. That's what everyone's focused on now. I will say this: if I had to put money on if he came out in 2026 or 2027, I think I would actually put money on him coming out in 2027, because this is going to be his first year as a starter. He doesn't have a lot of experience. He has less than 100 pass attempts in his 2-year career at Texas. You see the numbers there from 2024. He threw the ball, I think, 90 or 95 times last year. And that's basically all he's done in his career. So there's just not a lot to say about him in terms of his tape, because we need to see him over an entire season and how he looks over an entire season and how he deals with tough situations and pressure and all of this stuff, right? And I really wouldn't be surprised if he came back and with the NIL money, how it is now, like if he came back and played in 2027 and got a second year under his belt. We'll see. We'll see what happens. He obviously has the name Manning, and that's going to give him value, whether it's right or wrong. That's going to give him value in Dynasty. Whether he's drafted in the first round or second round or third round or whatever in the NFL draft, he's going to have a bump from the Manning name. So that's something to talk about. He's very, very athletic, more athletic than his uncles. He can move. He's going to run, I think, in the low 4.6s, which is good for a quarterback. We see there he had over 100 rushing yards on like 25 carries. So the guy is a legitimate, not dual threat, but he's a mobile pocket passer, in my opinion. So excited to see Arch Manning play. Excited to know if he's going to come out in the 2026 draft. We will see. But I am very, very excited to see him play and get a full year at Texas. Next up, we have Nico I. I'm not going to try and say the name. I'm probably going to embarrass myself. I need to practice it some more. So Nico I out of Tennessee here really came on the scenes after he was the backup to Joe Milton in the 2023 season. Milton didn't play in the bowl game. Nico did. He had 4 total touchdowns in that game. And, ever since then, he took over as the starter, and he hasn't looked back. There's a lot to like about him. I mean, he's 6'6". He's a little bit slim, 215. Doesn't mean he can't add to that frame. He's a mobile pocket passer as well. I think the guy can move. Like, if we're talking about for future fantasy success and stuff like that, I think he's a guy that can give you 300, 400 yards on the ground pretty easily. He has easy, like, his arm talent. He makes it look so easy, like when he throws the ball. Like, he just makes it look like there's no effort whatsoever. And you see the spin and the spiral and the zip on it. I think he can make all the throws. I love his mobility. Obviously, his size is what we covet for quarterbacks. And he's very, very, very good athlete for that size as well. And so I'm excited to see, once you get past these two guys, he's another guy that I don't think has to come out in 2026. He could spend another year in college. Now, that being said, he'll have 2 years under his belt versus Arch Manning having 1. So that could maybe be the determining factor for Nico to come out. These seem to be the top 2 guys for most people. I kind of looked at a bunch of different sources, big boards, all of that, trying to put together who are the top prospects in the draft and stuff like that. These two are the guys that stand out at the quarterback position. Once you get past these two guys, there's not a whole lot. There's not a whole lot that's consensus for the next few guys. However, Lenora Sellers seems to be a guy that is kind of high up on everyone's list. Lenora Sellers out of South Carolina, and if we're talking for fantasy, he's a legitimate dual threat quarterback. You see the numbers there. He rushed for almost 700 yards, 7 touchdowns. Only has 1 year of experience, so we get to see him for another year. But he's a legitimate dual threat quarterback that people really like, and people really like his arm talent as well. He's not just a rushing guy. He has decent size at 6'3", 240. I think he's probably going to run in the low 4.6s if I had to guess, just by watching him. And you see the arm talent. The guy can easily throw the ball 50, 60 yards down the field with relative ease. Does he need a little bit more touch and a little bit more consistency on those throws? Sure. But the arm talent is there, combined with that speed and combined with his mobility. Teams are potentially going to fall in love with him if he kind of takes it to the next step, right? Takes that next step in his development as a quarterback. So if he does come out in next year's draft, all these guys potentially could be top 10 picks if they all take that next step like they should. I do think this quarterback class, and there's one more guy we're talking about, but I do think this quarterback class, if guys like Arch Manning and Nico are going to come out, is better than this year. Now, if those first two guys don't come out, it's really going to hurt this draft class a lot if those two guys don't come out. Drew Allard is the last guy I just want to talk about. He was, I think a lot of people kind of thought he was going to come out this year. He's definitely going to be one of the more experienced quarterbacks coming out in the 2026 class, and he is coming out in the 2026 class. And at that time, when he does come out, he'll have 3 years of experience. And what jumps off the page with him is he has the prototypical size that we're looking for, 6'5", 240. I think he has very good arm talent. He's very careful, and ball security is big for him. He only had 2 interceptions in 2023, 8 interceptions last year. So 10 interceptions over the last 2 years, and he's thrown the ball over 500 times in those last 2 years. Or just under 500 times. So, the ball security is great, doesn't make mistakes. Again, need to see him take that next step. Need to see him maybe be a little bit more consistent in general. Penn State, though, they're not going to be a team that's going to throw for 5,000 yards or whatever, 4,000 yards even. Like, they're going to be a very efficient, run the ball, play defense type of team. And I think Allard is interesting. I think he really hurt the depth of this 2025 class by not coming out. And we'll see. Like, I don't know quite what his ceiling is going to be, but do I think he could be like a second-round pick and someone takes a shot on him? Yeah, I do think so. To the running back position, we have Justice Haynes out of Alabama, and this is pretty consensus. It seems to be like everyone's top running back for the 2025 season. Now, does that mean anything? It means something, but that doesn't mean he is going to be the top guy. But a lot of people do have him at the top. Very limited in terms of, like, he hasn't had a lot of carries or anything. He has just over 100 carries in his 2-year career at Alabama. So, he just wasn't used that much at Alabama the last 2 years. You see the numbers there. He still rushed for over almost 450 yards on, I think, 70 carries, I think it was. But he was third on the team, behind Milroe, the quarterback, and then Jamarion Miller, with third on the team in carries. What I like about him is his potential to catch the ball. I think he's a pretty good pass catcher, and that could lead him to being kind of that workhorse, complete running back. And if he takes the next step, if they give him the workload, I think we're looking at a guy that could potentially be a first-round pick at the running back position. I think he's that good. The contact balance is there. I think, again, his ability to catch the ball is there. He has the good size. He's 5'11", 215 or so. He's probably going to run in the 4.4s, maybe in the low 4.5s, but probably in the 4.4s. And again, like, we talk about the pass catching work. 17 catches doesn't seem like a lot. That was 4th on the team. this was not a team that threw the ball a whole lot. They had just over 3,000 passing yards. Their leading receiver had 50 catches. So involved enough in the passing game. He seems to be a consensus like top 3 running back for many people, and some people speculating that he's going to potentially be like a top 10 first round pick in the 2026 draft. Next up, we have Jeremiah Love out of Notre Dame. Now, this is another guy that seems to be near the top of a lot of people's lists when they rank their big boards and things like that for running backs, their positional rankings and stuff in the top 5 for a lot of people. Jeremiah Love out of Notre Dame, 6 foot, 206. So he's a little bit lighter than maybe you'd expect for a guy that's 6 foot. Could he add more weight? Sure. I think this guy has like legit speed. And you kind of see it on tape with him where like he can just explode at times. I'm very curious to see what he runs. Especially his 10-yard split, because I think like that burst of his is really, really good. He can kind of be used all over the field. I saw him split out wide a decent amount at Notre Dame, and he was involved in the passing game as well. 28 catches for a running back in college is pretty good. It's above average for sure. And again, you look at Notre Dame, and they kind of spread the ball around a lot. Their leading pass catcher was Mitchell Evans, the tight end, with 43 catches. So Jeremiah Love was top 5 on the team with 28 catches. So I'm interested to see him kind of, again, take that next step. Would like to see him maybe add a little bit to his frame, get to that size so we could be a little bit more comfortable with him being a workhorse. I'm not a big person that's just like, I'm not going to count anyone out because of their size. We need to see if the production's there and the tape's there and the analytics are there. I'm not going to worry too much about the size. Oh, along with other things, like pass pro is going to be an issue for a lot of these guys. But those 2 players, Justice Haynes and Jeremiah Love, seem to be near the top of everyone's running back, at least in the top 5 for most people's running back rankings. Next up, we're talking about C.J. Baxter out of Texas. Now, Baxter's an interesting one because, again, once you get past those like top 2 guys, there's no consensus on who's really up next. Like it's just all over the place in terms of the names and stuff. But Baxter's a name that I did see come up several times, and he's a little bit off of other people's radar just because he didn't play last year. It has to him on Sports Reference, college football reference. It has him playing in one game, but he does not have a carry or stuff. He had a knee injury, which caused him to miss the entire 2024 season. He was there in 2023 as a freshman and basically split the backfield with Jonathan Brooks and was good. Brooks was better, but Baxter was pretty good. He had, 100, you see the numbers there. That's from his 2023 season. 650 rushing yards, also 24 catches and 150 yards through the air, 5 total touchdowns. Was probably going to be the lead back for Texas this last year, got hurt, and so he's off a lot of people's radars, but I'm interested to see. I mean, Texas lately has just been churning out running backs. You got, obviously, Jonathan Brooks last year, Bijan and Roschon a couple years ago. Jaden Blue seems to be a guy that potentially could be like an early day 3 pick. So I'm excited to see, like, he's going to be on a really good offense, so he's going to get a lot of publicity. We're going to hear his name, and I think he's kind of primed to really take over that backfield and be the main guy for Texas this year. And I like the prospects of him potentially being a workhorse running back as well. So we'll see. It's tough to really talk about a guy that hasn't played since 2023. We really need to see him do something this year and come off that knee injury and look okay. And the last up here we have Dylan Edwards out of Kansas State. I said last one, but we actually have another running back after this. But Dylan Edwards started his college career at Colorado, then played at Kansas State last year. You see some of the numbers there. He's just a playmaker. He's just a playmaker, in my opinion, and that's what's intriguing about him. He is smaller, right? He's a smaller running back. I think I've seen people say he's like, potentially as only like 170 pounds or around there. You see it like on the field, obviously. He's 5'9". He's just, in terms of his weight, he's smaller. The dude's a burner. Like, he's going to run probably in the 4.3s if I had to guess. But the issue is going to be size. Will he be a full workhorse guy? I don't know. He split the backfield with DJ Giddens, who's going to be in this year's draft class. Well, DJ Giddens and then the quarterback also had over 100 carries. But you just see the potential and the playmaking ability. He had 550 yards rushing on 75 carries, almost 7.5 yards per carry. Averaged about 7 yards per reception. So I really like Edwards and his playmaking ability. The issue with him is just the team going to believe in him being as an every down guy. So he's really going to have to be efficient, but we'll see. I mean, we never thought HN would be potentially a guy that's going to be getting 20 plus carries in the NFL, and he did. I'm not trying to compare Edwards to HN, but I just really like the athleticism and the playmaking ability that this guy has. And we'll see if he kind of has a bigger role in the backfield in 2025. And there was actually one more, Roderick Robinson II out of Georgia. Just another player that could be off a lot of people's radars because really he has 28 carries in his college career. He played as a freshman at Georgia, had 24 carries, averaged over 8 yards a carry, but only had 24 carries, and then last year got hurt. He got hurt last year, I believe something with his foot or toe. And so there's really not a lot to talk about with him. He's a 4-star recruit out of high school, and he should see a pretty big expanded role, Robinson should, for Georgia this year. I think what's intriguing about him is the size. He's 6'1", 235. He's a bruiser. He's a bruising running back. He's not a blazing fast guy. He's not going to run, probably not even going to run in the 4.4s. Hopefully he gets to the 4.5s. We'll see. But he's just like the physical gifts are there, but he's not a home run threat. We're going to see how he looks. It's just, he's a guy to just keep an eye on because I think he's on a very good team. He's going to be featured on that team, I believe. And we're going to be hearing his name, and he could potentially put up kind of gaudy numbers, but we just don't know a lot about him, right? We don't know a lot about him and whether or not, on a guy that has less than 30 career carries, can he be a workhorse guy? Well, we're going to find out. Into the wide receivers here, we got Carnell Tate. There's really only 3 wide receivers that people kind of are talking about as of right now, or that are at the top of everyone's list. It doesn't seem like it'll be interesting to see what this wide receiver class turns out to be. I'm a little bit like, okay, I can see the potential for sure. I just don't know if it's obviously not going to be like it was in the 2024 draft class or anything like that. Carnell Tate, which I see kind of range as like a late first, early second type of player. He's 6'3", 190. You see some of the production there at Ohio State, which is a wide receiver factory. He wasn't the best player on his team. That was someone else, which we'll talk about in a year or two. But Carnell Tate, like he's an outside X type of guy, right? 6'3", 190. He plays that outside X type of player. He's not blazing fast or anything like that, but just productive. Can kind of like go up and make those contested catches, those high pointing catches and things like that. That's what's intriguing about Carnell Tate. Like that's really what he is. He's that outside X jump ball type of guy. I do think he actually runs routes pretty well. Like I'm not saying he's just like this, typical guy that can't really, run routes or anything. I think he's actually a pretty good route runner. I just really, really like his ability to kind of play everywhere. Like, yeah, he probably wins the best as the outside X guy, and I would lean towards that's how teams are going to use him. But I do think he can kind of line up everywhere and be successful in the slot, outside the numbers, all of that. So we'll see. We'll see how he does. Ohio State's obviously going to put up big numbers and so he could have some pretty impressive numbers, but we will see how that's all going to translate to his 2026 prospect. And next up on the list, we have Makai Lemon out of USC. USC has like a bunch of receivers that people are high on. I don't know how they're all going to be like productive or stuff, but we're talking like I've seen people have like 4 or 5 on their prospect lists, which is pretty insane. But Makai Lemon seems to be the guy that's ranked ahead of all of them. A little bit smaller of a receiver compared to someone like Carnell Tate, 5'11", 190. You see the numbers there last year: 52 catches, 764 yards, 3 touchdowns. People are kind of projecting him to potentially be a slot type of player. We'll see. Too early to determine that, in my opinion. I love the route running. I'm always a sucker for route running and those technician type of players, and players that can create separation and change of pace and tempo in their route running and stuff like that. I think he's really, really good after the catch, which again is another thing that I covet is, guys that can kind of take that 6-yard hitch route and take it to the house, right? Can they do stuff like that? Well, you got to be good with the yards after the catch and things like that. So just kind of that prototypical, like what you think of in a slot player, the yards after catch, finds the holes in zones, good route runner, especially on the inside, all that stuff Mekhi Lemon has, right? The question's going to be like, can he take it? Can he be that complete wide receiver that we kind of need? Like pure slot guys aren't necessarily fantasy relevant. There's very rarely are guys fantasy relevant. They kind of have to win on the inside and the outside and be able to play on the outside as well. We'll see if Mekhi Lemon can do that. I think he has good speed. It's not great, but there's lots to like about him. I think he's just going to be a very productive player. The teams are going to really like him and what he brings to their team. And he's going to be one of those guys that I think is going to have a very good NFL career with a very safe floor for fantasy. And then last up, I have Zachariah Branch, another USC guy. I've seen a couple people have Zachariah Branch as their top guy, so I shouldn't have said, Mekhi Lemon seems to be the one that's ahead or at the leading the pack for USC, because a lot of people do have Zachariah Branch as the best player on USC and as their number one wide receiver in this draft class. You see the numbers there: 47 catches, over 500 yards, and just 1 touchdown for USC in 2024. And he's another player that, again, a lot of people project potentially best as a slot player. He's much faster than Mekhi Lemon. You definitely see that jump off the film a little bit, where he has legitimate long speed. Zachariah Branch does. Smaller receiver as well. 5'10", 175 is what I see right now. Again, that definitely could change, especially the weight and stuff like that. But you see kind of you see the potential for him. Just that home run type of threat type of player. He's just really, really fast, like elite athleticism. I think his change of direction and stuff like that is amazing. I think he can be explosive in different assets and areas of the field, as well as like a punt returner, kick returner type of player. So a lot of people have Zachariah Branch, despite his size, as the number one potential wide receiver in this draft class. We'll see. Again, there's a lot of mouths to feed on that USC team. If he is going to be the number one guy, he's definitely going to be, top 10, top 20 draft pick. And, there's a couple guys in here that definitely could sneak in that first round. And we'll see come 2026, what other receivers are going to get kind of pushed into this group and we need to be talking about. But, there's some other ones out there like Antonio Williams out of Clemson, Evan Stewart from Oregon, who went back to school, Deuce Robinson, another USC guy. So there's a lot of guys that could potentially, enter this conversation. But these 3 seem to be kind of that top 3 that everyone has near the top of their list. And into the tight ends here, really only 2 guys that I saw consistently near the top of everyone's rankings. One of them is Luke Haas, I believe it's pronounced, out of Arkansas. No numbers that jump off the page for you or anything like that. I will say that, general, just pure production for tight ends isn't always the best indicator of how they're going to be in the NFL. There's a lot of other things that come into play for tight ends. That's why there's a lot of times you get tight ends. George Kittle was a good example. I think George Kittle's best season, he had 300 yards or 400 yards receiving in college, where it's just oh yeah, why didn't this guy produce more in college? Well, I don't know why exactly. Maybe he just wasn't on the right team. But anyways, Luke Haas seems to be near everyone, or near the top of everybody's list here. He's a legitimate he's 6'3", 240. I think he does play more of that inline type of role as a tight end, but he's also pretty athletic and he can catch the ball, especially with contested catches. I think he has pretty good frame to kind of play that over the middle of the field type of guy. And again, he's more of that inline tight end, which I tend to like a little bit more. I feel like those tight ends translate a little bit better just because they're more versatile for offenses. Those big slot type of players, Mike Gesicki's, Jonnu Smith's, even Dalton Kincaid to a certain extent, don't always seem to pan out. They seem to be more busts when it comes to those type of players than when you get maybe these inline type of tight ends who, can block as well, even though blocking isn't necessarily it doesn't translate to fantasy points, but it gets you on the field, right? It gets you on the field. So Luke Haas, and then the other guy here is Oscar Delp, another Georgia tight end. Obviously that Brock Bowers, Darnell Washington a couple years ago. I forget the name of the guy who's coming out in this year's draft. I don't know where he's going to go, but Oscar Delp, 6'5", 245, also didn't have a whole lot of production here. In college, as you can see, 21 catches, 248 yards and 4 touchdowns. He's been at Georgia for 3. This will be his 4th year at Georgia. So the last 2 years, he's only put up about 250 yards. Obviously, a couple of those years, he was playing behind maybe the greatest tight end prospect we've ever seen in Bowers. So a little bit understandable there. But I think he's like an incredible athlete. He's potentially going to run in the 4.5s, which is great for a tight end, especially a tight end that's 6'5", maybe 250. I think he has a lot of the traits that you can see translating to the NFL. Just really, really athletic, which, we talk about combine and things like that. Usually the combines are slightly overrated, but for tight ends, it's the athletic profile is pretty important and translates the most more than any other position. He can kind of line up anywhere, in line, out wide, from the slot, whatever, put his hand in the dirt, all of that stuff. So I just think he's kind of like a nightmare for people to cover. So again, we need to see more out of him. We need to see more production because ultimately, like, production is still important. So we're going to need to see the production. Hopefully we see it this year. My overall thoughts on the 2026 class is, and I want to be careful when I say this, I'm not like, if I'm comparing it right now compared to 2025, I'm taking 2025. Obviously, I'm taking 2024. 2023 maybe is a little bit better of an indicator or something like that. The Kenny Pickett year, and now I'm confusing my years a little bit. 2022, right? I believe the Kenny Pickett year. It all kind of jumbles together. Anyways, I think it's unfair to compare it right now just because so much is going to change. And honestly, we were very excited about the 2025 class. And obviously that has changed, right? Like, I'm super excited about the 2025 class. I think we're 14, 15, 16 players deep. I've been telling people to grab early 2025 seconds, because I think they're going to be very good players. I just don't know, and I don't think people were feeling that way back in October, back in September, back in April of 2024 about this class. So things change. I'm probably, if I had to choose right now, I would choose 2025 over 2026, but it's a unfair comparison. It really is. So there's so many guys out there. I mean, how many people were really talking about Ashton Genty as a top 10 pick in the 2025 NFL draft this time last year? Not many people. Obviously, he was productive in 2023, but as a top 10 pick, I don't think people were saying that. So anyways, appreciate you all. And we'll be updating the 2026 class for sure. And I hope to see you guys in the live stream, and make sure to like and subscribe, and see you guys all in the next video.